mechanism around this issue that is in harmony with other jurisdictions around the world, and I commend this bill to the House.
Salesa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this very brief call on the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill. But first of all, I'd like to acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, the incident that happened overnight at Westminster. My heart goes out to all the people that have unfortunately passed away, as well as the 40 people who have been injured in the British Parliament, near the British Parliament in London. This shocking incident, Mr. Speaker, brings home just how vulnerable people can be to terrorist acts in our democracies. In New Zealand, we must take our obligations seriously to stand up for and be counted in international efforts to fight against terrorism, as well as corruption and money laundering, Mr. Speaker. One of the ways that we can do that is to move swiftly on measures to close the loopholes in our legislation, which allows money laundering and profiteering by criminals and possibly funders of terrorism to take place right here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This bill before us that we're debating, Mr. Speaker, would bring lawyers, it would bring accountants, sports and race betting agencies, conveyancers and real estate agents within the ambit of anti-money laundering legislation. Mr. Speaker, this is a crucial and much-needed move. Late last year, we know from New Zealand Herald, who investigated, as well as police who researched, they found loopholes in our laws which saw lawyers, accountants and real estate agents being increasingly used to launder up to $6 billion worth of money in dirty money, Mr. Speaker. The investigations that they exposed showed the fact that professional services and the real estate sector are closely linked to organised crime and drug offending. And when we look at the numbers of those involved, about half of the cases involved property deals where offenders were ultimately successful in integrating criminal proceeds with purchasing of real estate. Mr. Speaker, New Zealand should not be seen as a country where criminals or terrorist funders can launder their money easily. Our reputation in this regard is at risk, and it is well past time that we take decisive actions to stop this. Mr. Speaker, Labor supports this bill because it is the right thing to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question. Ian McKelvey.
Mr. Speaker, it's a great